Welcome to the Project Mom Podcast. I'm your host, Emily Gorey, mom of a sweet baby girl and an ever-evolving entrepreneur. On this show, we will explore the intersection of motherhood and entrepreneurship. We will share stories of moms just like you and me with the goal of fostering community and comfort in knowing that we are not alone in our experiences. Please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to ensure you get all the updated episodes and releases. Welcome to today's episode of the Project Mom Podcast. I just recorded an episode with Katie Murray, whose episode will actually be released in September, earlier this week, and she said something that really resonated with me. She has a photography business as well as a virtual assistance business. She works full-time and is a mom to a 3.5-year-old. And she had shared a story with me that really resonated that I wanted to dive into before her episode even goes live. She had shared with me that she had had a client reschedule their photo shoot to a day where she didn't have childcare, and her partner also had work. And at the insistence of her client, Katie was welcome to bring her daughter to the shoot. And she was a bit hesitant, but her client was insistent. And so she did. She brought her daughter, and it was tough. Her daughter only wanted her, and Katie felt as though she couldn't give attention to her client, right? Her full attention. And it turned out okay, right? The client loved her photos and all was right. But for Katie, it was a lesson learned. She didn't want her worlds colliding like that. It didn't feel honoring to her as a mom or as a business owner. So she knew right then that she needed to communicate this as a new boundary to her husband, and that they needed to come up with a different plan for upcoming sessions, and one in particular where this lack of childcare was scheduled to happen again. And Katie's experience reminded me of something that Lori Aikman had said to me on her podcast episode on the Project Mom podcast that was released on June 19th. And just a quick reminder, Lori owns The Vibrant Woman, which is a virtual practice that helps female entrepreneurs up-level their health. So definitely check out her episode if you have not. But she reminded me and reminds us, right, just how vital it is that we look at what's not working when we're balancing a business and being a mom. So I wanted to spend a few minutes today exploring the concept of looking at what's not working. It's easy, especially for me, to get swept up in doing the fun parts or parts of work that give us joy, and we put the stressors on the back burner, right? Or sometimes we get bogged down in the parts that give us grief and feel as though we can't move forward because this is just how it is. And what I loved about Katie's story is that instead of being resentful towards her partner because she's the one that had to bring her daughter to work in times of event conflict, or getting angry because this is her reality now and it's just how it is, right? And she continues to put herself in situations that don't light her up or allow her to be the best mom or the best photographer she can be, right? Instead, she chose action. I mean, how many of us have just accepted a situation and did nothing to prevent it from happening in the future, right? Full transparency, I have, for sure. So I wanted to put out there some tangible tips on what action can look like to improve situations that just aren't working for us. For me, I think it's the most important for us to start by just identifying what isn't working. And upon reflection, some questions that I think we can ponder to achieve this understanding are: where do I have dread? Where do I have resentment? What frustrates me? What do I just not want to do? Has there been anything on my to-do list just sitting there for weeks? Right? So just some questions to ponder. Next, I think it's also super vital that we identify what our ideal scenario would be, right? So ask yourself, if it was simple, what would you do? Can you give the task to somebody else? Can you hire a babysitter to watch your kid every Monday afternoon? Because that tends to be the day where both you and your partner or support system have other conflicts. Next, and I think sometimes this could be the hardest piece of the puzzle, is taking a breath and actually believing that you are worthy of that ideal scenario. And even if you don't fully buy into that right now, it is true. And the more you remind yourself of that, the easier it will be to believe it. Next, can we communicate these needs and these desires to our support team? And can we do it in a way that's not nitpicky or resentful or frustrated? I think that is a big part of how can we move past these situations from happening again, right? So can you as a team with your support team or your partner identify 3 things to try and make this scenario a reality? And I think it's important to also remember that both you and your partner can be responsible for making this a reality, right? So you're both responsible, let's say, for looking for a new babysitter because you both have work conflicts. So who can they reach out to and who can you reach out to, right? Have those discussions together. Another option, right, to make this a reality is maybe babysitters aren't an option that day, right? So can my client or my meeting shift a day or time? Can I take this call at a local coffee shop or gym that has childcare? Perhaps those aren't options, and I just realized that Mondays are going to have to be family days because my partner has work that can't be rescheduled. So I set a boundary in the future that there are no meetings or work or sessions on Monday afternoons, right? There's a few things that we just brainstormed. So try one thing. And if that doesn't work, try something else. Ultimately, remember that you are worthy of this support. It will come. For me, I always find, and I've said this a handful of times throughout all of these episodes, is action leads to clarity. So can we take some action, some small action to lead to clarity on what type of support will work for your particular situation? Can we be open-minded and trust that we will get the support we need? I do want a caveat, right? It will take effort. It may take time, but ultimately you are worthy of that support. And right, this is just a tailored example for childcare, and in particular with Katie's situation in mind. But what about in your business? What isn't working for you? Are you stressed because you're staying up late every week to get the same repeat tasks completed? Well, if that isn't working for you, who can you outsource that to? That's my challenge to you this week. What isn't working for you at home or in your business? And can you identify 3 ways to try to give yourself support so that you can show up as your best self in motherhood and in business? And as always, be sure to tune into our weekly episodes of the Project Mom podcast for more inspirational stories and motivation to create a life and a business you love. Thanks so much for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please help us out and leave a review wherever you listen, and consider sharing with your friends. If you're interested in learning a bit more about the project or want to share your story, please visit our website linked in our show notes below.